Missouri Senate Committee on Economic and Workforce Development is being called to order. To give us a little more time to establish a quorum, we're going to begin in a subcommittee. First bill that will be heard today is House Bill 499. Representative Chris, begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Senators, for hearing House Bill 499. It provides a targeted earnings tax relief to encourage investment and job creation in the city of St. Louis. So most of you already know, but St. Louis imposes a flat 1% local earnings tax, also known, or local income tax, known as earnings tax, on both individuals and businesses. I believe income taxes, whether you call them earning or income, same thing, are the most damaging form of taxation because the more you tax something, the less you get of it. And when we tax productivity, we drive business, jobs, and economic growth out of the region. This isn't just about businesses moving to the county. It's about businesses leaving the region entirely, and more importantly, new companies and new families choosing not to come to St. Louis area at all. St. Louis has lost nearly 19,000 residents since 2020, and more people are dying than being born in the region. Simply put, we can't afford to keep pushing people and jobs away. Rather than eliminating the tax citywide, which I've supported in the past as well, this creates a marginal effort in certain areas, which is the earnings tax opportunity zones within federally designated opportunity zones. So it's where the federal opportunity zones under President Trump were created meet the distressed communities under the census tract. So just to give you a little background, this only applies to St. Louis because in Kansas City, where there's also an earnings tax, those two territories do not cross. So that's why this is specific to St. Louis within the bill. Again, those areas will be exempt from the earnings tax. It's about 8% of the earnings tax, probably 2 to 3% of the city's budget. And again, this is in like the most distressed areas of the community. So giving some of the poorest populations in the most need some tax relief, I think, is a wise decision, and also providing those areas opportunities for businesses to move in and revitalize those neighborhoods is key. And so I think this is a topic we've had debates on forever on the earnings tax. I think this is an easy way that I think is kind of a middle ground and where we could start this in the city of St. Louis. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the representative? First up that would like to testify in favor, please come forward. Going once, going twice. Anyone here to testify in opposition?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jackie Barget. I'm a registered lobbyist here on behalf of the City of St. Louis to testify in opposition to House Bill 499. You all heard from me last week, so I will not reiterate everything that I said last week, but I do just want to make sure we are on record in opposition. And although we appreciate Representative Christ and the state's willingness and desire to help increase business development and growth in St. Louis, we don't think that the earnings tax and these types of opportunity zones are the way to go about that. When businesses decide to develop elsewhere or move outside of the city, the earnings tax is not the reason that we hear why they are moving. We would love to, this new administration would love to be a part of those discussions about how we can increase development and growth in the city of St. Louis, and we look forward to those conversations as well. I will say, especially, and I think I said this last week too, especially at a time where the city is actively looking to make sure that they can meet the statutorily required budgetary mandates for law enforcement that were passed with state control, reducing at any amount the earnings tax and revenue sources that come into the city of St. Louis is a interesting thing to be discussing at the same time. I will leave it at that. I don't know if you all have any questions from what I said last week as well.
Any questions to the witness? Seeing none. Next up, in opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Sam Panettiere on behalf of the City of Kansas City and the Northland Chamber of Commerce representing Clay and Platte counties. We'd also like to go on record in opposition. Like Ms. Barget said, we also appreciate targeted efforts to, incentivize development in opportunity zones. Just don't think this is the way to go about it. I think I stated last week this would decimate the earnings tax, which is primarily our funder for public safety and city services. So we just would like to see a different approach to try to help development in these communities. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions to the witness? Thank you for your testimony. Next up in opposition.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce as well as the Civic Council of Greater Kansas City. And I want to go on record in opposition. While we appreciate Representative Christ, he kind of reminds me of my son. A lot of times I love him, but I get disappointed. And you notice this is the second time in a 2-week period that no one has showed up to support this legislation. And while it may be well-intentioned, the fact of the matter is that the earnings tax has not destroyed Kansas City. We're in the top 10 entrepreneurial cities in the world. We have an influx of young folks wanting to come live and work in our community. The earnings tax is a policy that every 5 years we vote on. It is overwhelmingly 70+% renewed, and of that money, about 75% of it goes to fund public safety and our local law enforcement. So I view this as every dollar you take out of this pot of the earnings tax, that's 75 cents that our law enforcement does not have to help us keep our community safe. So that's why we're here to oppose it. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions to the witness? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I got held up in another committee on the House side. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate. The staff should have received my testimony electronically a few days ago. I am in support of House Bill 499. I supported it in a public hearing on February 4th before the House Special Committee on Tax Reform. I think that this is, first of all, I'm against earning taxes. It only applies to 2 of our metropolitan cities across the state, which would be, as you know, Kansas City and St. Louis. I think it's an awful, bad public policy. I think it disenfranchises and discourages economic development in these 2 cities. And I'd like to see the legislature and the Senate especially abolish earning tax. These established earnings tax opportunity zones have to work for why they need it. And there's special definitions that they have to be meet some guidelines and definitions for opportunity zones, and they have to be depressed sections or sections that need remediation for chemical cleanup or environmental constraints. So I kind of like this legislation, but my ultimate goal is to abolish earnings tax. For those reasons, I highly support HB 499. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions to the witness? Seeing none. Is there anyone else that wanted to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only?
Thank you. Derek McCollum, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. We support the earnings tax because it supports our budget. A reduction in the earnings tax will be a direct reduction of our overall operating budget. Any questions?
Are there any questions to the witness? Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else for informational purposes only? Seeing none, this concludes the hearing for House Bill 499. Our next bill being heard today is House Committee Substitute for House Bills 1524 and 1580. Representative Casteel, begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Representative David Casteel with the 97th District, here today to propose House Committee Sub for House Bills 1524 and 1580. The bill is fairly simple in logic and intent. It's a 100-acre rectangle in downtown St. Louis meant to become an entertainment district. There's actually a prohibition on any new taxes in the district. There's no gun bans. There is an $8 million bond to be purchased by the district once created that is meant to guarantee ticket sales for Olympic trials, college tournaments, concert series. But it will also be used to, the district itself will be used to hire its own secondary post-certified security officers who will be in uniform and walking around within the district. The reason the district's important is because although there are already entertainment districts within the space, these security officers are not able to patrol or be deployed to anywhere except for that certain space. So this broadens that footprint, allowing for these secondary security officers to be present and deployable to anywhere within the 100 acres. The plan will be marketed, the district will be marketed to new employers that haven't been in the St. Louis City area yet, and it will also be marketed to tourism. We want to be able to bring tourist dollars to the downtown area while also creating jobs for the building trades, but also permanent jobs within the downtown district. There's a lot of renovation happening now within the residential spaces of Washington Avenue. They've had a lot of success in turning over that neighborhood, creating long-term tenants that are market rate payers. So in summary, the intent is basically for the stakeholders within the area to voluntarily dedicate their own resources to hire secondary security officers and to buy the bond to guarantee ticket sales. Representative Marlin carried the bill with me, and I'll let him speak to that as he's a resident of the near downtown area.
Representative Marlon Anderson from the 76th District. Thank you for hearing this bill. I believe Representative Casteel has addressed all the pertinent parts. It is a morale booster and an economic development boom for the city of St. Louis, which is much needed.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Seeing none. Anyone that would like to testify in favor?
Amy Blunt, registered lobbyist for Hush-Blackwell LLC. Hush-Blackwell represents several of the large businesses in the 100-acre parcel. Representative Casteel and Representative Anderson did a great job explaining the legislation. This is a mirror image of the bill that you heard from Senator Roberts last week. So with that, I'll conclude and take any questions. Just want to go on record in favor of the bill.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else who would like to testify in favor?
Chair Brown, members of the committee, my name is Luke Reed. I'm here with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry, here to support House Bills 1524 and 1580 because we think this is going to be great for growth in St. Louis City in this area, and a thriving St. Louis City is key to a thriving Missouri. So we support the public safety aspect of it as well as the potential for new state investments in tourism. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions to the witness? Seeing none. Next up, they would like to testify in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, David Jackson, registered lobbyist for Greater St. Louis, Inc. Would also like to go on record in support for all the reasons stated previously. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions to the witness? Seeing none. Anyone else like to testify in favor?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate. I submitted my form in favor of this bill online electronically. Let's see here. Back on March 12th of this year, I appeared before the public hearing before the House Emerging Issues Committee and testified in favor of both bills, HB 1524 and 1580. I think that this is a good district. I like it that there's going to be no new taxes. However, I have an issue that I'd like to bring up and put on the public record. An $80 million bond issue, how... I'm sorry.
8 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. An $8 million bond issue. How are the bonds going to be paid for without a taxing source? I heard something about ticket sales.
It's an insurance policy.
Insurance policy.
It's a
Okay.
bond bought by the district.
Okay. So hopefully all of those will be covered and the district won't be liable for any of the $8 million or the administrative or the legal cost in the interest of the bond. We want to make sure that taxpayers aren't on the hook for any liability issues of this bond. So I like the idea that there's no new taxes, that there's not going to be a gun ban, that people can exercise their Second Amendment and protect themselves and their families. In my opinion, this is a good economic development tool. It's really needed in the city of St. Louis, and therefore I support both House Bills 1524 and 1580. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions to the witness? Seeing none, next up that would like to speak in favor? Anyone that would like to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? All right, this concludes the hearing for House Bill 1524 and 1580. Next up, we will be hearing House Committee Substitute for House Bill 202. Representative Casteel, you're up again. Begin when you're ready.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 202 is basically a ghosting bill. It's the second year we've got it out of the House. It's basically one loose end is getting tied up in this bill through the unemployment securities insurance. We've got requirements that the employee who was let go through no fault of their own gets unemployment insurance payments, so long as they apply for 3 jobs per week through the Department of Labor system, the portal that's already existing. Then back and forth through the portal, they'll communicate with employers. The ghosting aspect of this is if that employee who's on unemployment insurance, who's seeking employment through the system, if they don't show up to an interview or a skills test or some other type of training opportunity 3 times in a 1-year period, then they will be looked at by the department and potentially removed from the unemployment benefits. So it's a fairly simple bill. As a business owner, I couldn't tell you how many times we've set up interviews with people who have failed to show up, and that's time we can't get back from either running our business, marketing our services to new sales opportunities, or interviewing people who would show up. So it's a detriment in multiple ways to the business owner who has lost his time and ability to recover that revenue. It's also a cost to the employer who pays for the unemployment insurance, who's mandated to pay for that insurance. And then it's a cost to the employee who isn't finding purpose in life by working and contributing and providing better outcome for their families. So just to follow up on that loose end, the communication with the job opportunities will be sent through the portal. So every week that they log into the portal to search for new jobs, they'll have an alert telling them that they've been offered an interview. So that it's not going to get lost in the email, it's not going to get lost in the postal service. It's basically two-way communication between the portal and the employers and the employee. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, anyone that would like to testify in favor of the bill, please come forward.
Good morning. Matthew Smith with Associated Industries of Missouri. I want to go on record of support of this bill. This bill helps incentivize those who are currently on unemployment to participate in the hiring process, removing those that have failed to show up for a job interview or skills test 3 times in a row, clearly unserious about finding and rejoining the workforce, and this will help incentivize those to find gainful employment. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, Anyone else would like to testify in favor?
Mr. Chair, Committee, Luke Reed again, Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry, here to support House Bill 202 because we believe it is a great way to get people back in the workforce, and also above that, it helps protect the employer-funded trust fund. So for those reasons, we support House Bill 202 from Representative Casteel.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Next up in favor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Greg Pfister, and I'm here today on behalf of FGA Action. FGA Action supports this bill. It's a good government solution to add accountability to Missouri's unemployment insurance program and encourage faster reemployment. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor?
Mr. Chairman, member of the committee, and now member of the committee, thank you for having the opportunity to be here today. I go in support of House Bill 202. We need employees every day. I'm with the Missouri grocers and Missouri retailers, and wasting time on no-shows is not really a good thing, doesn't help us at all. So I support Representative Casteel's bill and take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none.
Thank you.
I'll make a comment since you look so disappointed. As a restaurant owner of many years, I'll just say that I completely concur with the frustrations you express, because I couldn't tell you how many of the interviews that I would set up at my place would end up being no-shows, probably somewhere between 7 and 9 out of 10. So it's,
And then they'll show up for one day of work and then they never come back.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Anyone else that would like to testify in favor? Anyone in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? Oh, we got one for opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate. A couple days ago, I submitted my online electronic testimony. Back on February 4th, I testified before the public hearing of the House Government Efficiency Committee, and I was opposed to that bill at that time. At that time, the bill only had the first paragraph of the bill that was in it, and I felt that that bill was really it could be open to interpretation. I feel that a lot of employees who lost their job due to one reason or another, their income could be curtailed, and they could be caught up in interpretation of what the definitions are and what the job interview or skills test is. And so since then, there's been a number of different caveats or other bills that have been amended on the House floor for this House Bill 202. I do agree with the National Data Check System to verify eligible claimants receive unemployment compensation benefits, making sure that they're not duly receiving benefits fraudulently and duking taxpayers in one state or the other. It also pursues the recovery of fraudulent or improper unemployment compensation overpayments, and I think that's only fair. It's kind of like going to the ATM, and if you want $100 and all of a sudden you get $1,000 to come out of the ATM, it's your obligation to go inside of the branch and say, hey, look, I only withdrew $100 and I owe you $900 in return. Most people, unfortunately, would take the money, and I think we need to make sure that the Labor and Industrial Commission has the ability in the unemployment security and has the tools to go after bad actors and people who are taking advantage of the system. But the original bill that was at the committee over in the House on government efficiency, I disagree with the interpretation and how it's written, and therefore I'm still opposed to HB 202. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Anyone else who would like to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? Seeing none, this concludes the hearing for House Committee Substitute for House Bill 202. And since looks like we have a few more people here, we're going to go ahead and establish a quorum. Okay. You ready to call roll? Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Here.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis, Schnelting, Trent, Washington. We have a quorum.
We have established a quorum. We have established a quorum. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second? Seconded. I move that the committee take up House Committee Substitute for House Bills 1524 and 1580. Do I have a second? I have a second. This is Representative Casteel's bill relating to community improvement districts. We just heard it today, but it is identical to, let's see, which one is that? Identical to is that Fitzwater?
Fitzwater.
So yeah, that's identical to Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 381 we heard last week. Same language. And let's see. So I move that the committee vote do pass House Committee Substitute for House Bills 1524 and 1580. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis, Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 5-0, you have voted to do pass House Committee Sub for House Bill 1524 and 1580.
I now move that Senate Bill 782 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? This is Senator Roberts' Community Improvement Districts bill that he presented last week, and the language is also identical to Representative Casteel's bill that we just heard and voted on. I move that the committee adopt the Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 782. Do I have a second? I have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the substitute say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have adopted the Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 782. I now move that the committee vote Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 782 do pass. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis, Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 5-0, you have voted to do pass Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 782.
I now move the committee take up House Bill 499. Do I have a second? This is Representative Christ's earnings tax bill we just heard, and it is identical to Senator Fitzwater's legislation on the earnings tax we heard last week that we will also be exacting on today. I move the committee vote do pass HB499. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis, Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4-1, you have voted to do pass House Bill 499.
I now move that the the committee take up Senate Bill 381. Do I have a second? This is Senator Fitzwater's legislation relating the earnings tax that we heard last week. There's a Senate committee substitute that mirrors the language of Representative Chris' bill that we just voted out. I move the committee adopt the Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 381. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the sub, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We've adopted the Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 381. I now move the committee vote Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 381 do pass. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis,
No.
Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4 to 1, you have voted to do pass Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 381.
I now move that the committee take up Senate Bill 681. Do I have a second? I have a second. This is Senator Carter's legislation we heard last week relating to pregnancy resource centers. I move that the committee vote to pass Senate Bill 681. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis,
No.
Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4 to 1, you have voted to do pass Senate Bill 681.
One more. I move that House Bill 770 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? This is Representative Banderman's legislation relating to the Secretary of State's Technology Trust Fund, which he presented last week. And there is a Senate committee substitute. It changes the title relating to functions of the Secretary of State. It adds a provision identical to Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 280 relating to the Secretary of State's responsibilities concerning voter registration, which was voted unanimously out of the Local Government and Elections Committee on 4/14, and it adds a provision repealing the expiration date for the Secretary of State's subpoena power concerning the investigation of election offenses. I move that the committee adopt the Senate committee substitute for House Bill 770. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have adopted the Senate committee substitute for House Bill 770. I now move the committee vote Senate committee substitute for House Bill 770 do pass. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21, Gregory 15, Lewis,
No.
Schnelting, Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4 to 1, you have voted to do pass Senate committee substitute for House Bill 770.
I now make a motion that we exit executive session. Do I have a second? With no further business coming before the committee, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? We are adjourned.